welcome everyone to another episode of our build series. If you haven't already, be sure to subscribe to the channel, and also don't forget to tap that bell. That way you guys can be informed on our latest and greatest episodes. So without further ado, let's get into it.
What's up, everyone? So this video we're going to do a little bit different than the other ones we've made so far. The wife was asking about buying some planter boxes basically, and she showed me like what she wanted, and we kind of came up with the idea, well, how about we just make one? Let's see what we have scrap wise, and let's see if we can make planter box to kind of match what she wanted, the style and everything. So we had plenty of oak scraps, and I think oak is a good choice for this because it's more durable to the weather than like a pine or something. And I had some 1-inch oak that I use. So here is the prototype planter box that we made, and we are going to then go through how we made it with other scraps that we have. Again, these boxes are for us, so we really don't care if they're marked up, if they have paint on them. We're going to probably stain them to our preferred color for around the house, but we will have these available to purchase. Again, they'll be oak, pine, walnut. You can have your choice of wood to be made out of. But for this, these are prototypes, so just keep that in mind when watching this. These are prototype for our use only. Our customers will be made out of not scraps, pure cut wood that we will do start from to finish like we do with every other projects. Okay, so let's check out the box and we'll get started. Okay, so here was the first prototype box that we made that I was mentioning. Basically, it is made out of 1-inch thick solid oak. Basically, here's what we have. It is 5-inch pieces by 9-inch pieces of wood, and they are basically held together with 1.5-inch thick oak strips, top and bottom. And then it is 6 inches wide on the inside, and that is inside. So it's inside both of these, so it is a full 6-inch. Here's the inside. Now you can see, you're probably looking at it and saying, okay, well, why is there so many gaps in the wood? We have gaps here. If you look down in, we have gaps on both sides. So the reason for that is, and this one's not finished, we're actually going to drill some holes down through the center here too. Probably in this size of a box, probably 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 holes. Basically what that's going to be for the planter box is going to allow for water to soak out. Once the soil gets all the water that it needs, it's going to want to get rid of the rest of it, the excess water. And if you buy a planter box offline, even the plastic ones have holes at the bottom to drain that extra water out. Some of them will have like a plate underneath this to keep that, and then it'll reabsorb it. But we don't need to reabsorb it. Let's get rid of the excess in our box plants that we're making. So these cracks here will allow moisture to come out from the sides if it needs to. And down here, there's about a 1/4-inch gap on each side. Plus, once we get the holes in here, it'll allow all of that extra water to be, basically it will get rid of it. Now, like I said, this is a prototype one, so you can see I have markings from using this wood on other projects. Again, in here, you see marks. The inside, we weren't too worried about doing any sanding or anything because it's gonna be covered with dirt. So, and again, this is a project for our home. We really don't care if it's got the marks in there. But yeah, so here's the prototype. So let's go inside and let's build another one, and we'll show you guys that entire process of how we make it. All right, so here's all the scrap oak pieces we have. We have some that are kind of cut. We have some that are painted and not painted. Again, like I said, if it's painted, we're not too worried about it. This is for our use only, and we'll probably put the paint inside, so it really doesn't matter. But the first thing we do is we need to get our table saw set up. what we're going to do is we're going to make the box 9 inches tall. So we're going to set the blade for 9 inches. So we'll go ahead and do that. Get our guide on there. We'll set that for 9. And I always like to measure just to make sure it's square. Lock that down. Then we'll just take a piece and we will set our blade depth. Okay, so now everything that goes through here will be set at 9 inches. So we'll go ahead and get the hose, the vacuum hose hooked up, and we'll go ahead and get to cutting. So now we got everything set to 9 inches wide, or tall, however you want to look at it. Basically what we're going to do now is we're going to take most of these, try to use as much of these we can, and we're going to cut these into 4-inch sections, or I should say 4 inches wide. That way they're all synced, and that will be our side pieces that you see. On the end caps, remember I said they were 6 inches, so if we have a 6-inch piece here, we'll use that. Otherwise, we will be cutting them at 4 inches. So, let's get to cutting those 4 inches. Alright, so now we have 6 and 6, so each side's gonna be 6 of these. That's 2, 4, 6. Each side's gonna be 6 of these pieces wide. I have a 6-inch here. I gotta trim it just a little, and I gotta make one more 6-inch for the ends. And then we'll be ready to cut our, or at least lay it out and then start cutting our other pieces. So let's get these two 6-inch cut out. Alright, so now that we have the 6-inch pieces and the 4-inch pieces cut, what we're going to do is we'll lay out one side here a while. Go ahead and get these 4-inch pieces cut like this. So what we'll do is to make sure, like in the beginning of the video you saw there were those lines in between each. I'm going to use an old deck trick. Basically what you're going to do is take a screw, and that will provide the gap that is in between them. So we'll do that through each of these boards for this one side. And this will basically ensure that the spacing is exactly the same for each piece of wood. So there we go. So now they're all evenly spaced. So what I'll do now is I will grab the tape measure and I will measure this distance from end to end. So in this case it is 24 5/8. So what I'll do is I'll cut 2 strips of 24 and 5/8 inch pieces of wood. One for the top, one for the bottom. And then that'll be our structural part for that. So let me get those cut out, and then we'll come back and we'll start putting it together. Okay, so now that we got those cut out, we'll go ahead and lay those down. One on the top, one on the bottom, like such. Okay, so now we have those pieces done. Now before we actually place them down, one thing we're going to do is we're going to set these off to the side real quick. And these end pieces, so this is the 6-inch piece that's going to be on the inside. We are actually going to mount these end pieces on top like this, and it'll be spaced across. So what I'm going to do is, before I do that, because the idea here is I'm going to drill a couple of screws in here just so it has more structural integrity, especially on the ends. I'm going to drill 2 screws on here, basically where the stripping will be, so they'll be covered up once I'm done. You'll never know that they're there. So in order to do that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a countersink bit and I'm going to pre-drill the holes, because the problem with this is it's more than likely going to split. Even though it's an inch thick wood, going across the grain, it's going to be more than likely it's going to split. So this will allow a better chance of it not splitting, and I can countersink it, which is usually where the most likelihood of it splitting is, when the head gets in here and is sunk down in. This will avoid that. So we'll go ahead and do that a while. And you don't have to go crazy. You can see it's countersunk just a little bit. We don't have to go crazy on it. I'm going to go ahead and put the screw in a while so it holds it still for the other hole. And it ensures that this one's lined up since I took it off there. It'll automatically align. There. And now that is a strong bond. So we'll go ahead and line up the other side. And then there we go. So there's that one done. And you can see it didn't split the wood on any of them. So it is worth the extra time to, if you have a countersink bit, to do it. If you don't have a countersink bit, you can use a really small drill bit, but you're still risking, when you get the head to sink it down into the wood, you're still risking that it could split the wood, just for your reference. So countersink bit is going to be the best option here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and flip this over a while and also do the other side. That way it's done. So we'll go ahead and do that. Whoops. Helps if I grab the right drill. Alright, so that's how this one will be sitting. So I'm going to do the same thing on the other side, and then I'll show you what we'll do with the rest of the pieces here. So take this, do the opposite, because we're going the opposite way. Try to keep it on camera here. And we'll flip it over, grab another piece here, and do the same thing. Okay, and we'll flip it back over because that's how we had it lined up. So there's that. Now, what we can do is, since we already know what their spacing is going to be, and we already measured our strips to know the perfect length, we actually don't need to have these down flat to do this. So what we'll do is we'll keep our spacing correct here. We'll line up the bottoms of these so they're even. And what we can do is we can take this and take another piece, because remember, we cut these all the same. They're all 4 by 9 inch pieces. So we can take this in here, slide it in, just so we have the proper spacing and we know where the height of everything is, and we can line everything up that way. So we can do all that. Now for these 4 pieces here, what we will use is a brad nailer to nail it down. And then what we can do now is, now that we have this lined up, this piece is not going to get nailed down. Obviously that's the end piece that is for the other side. We'll make sure everything's nice and flush. There's that one. And then on the top side, same thing. Line everything up, and everything is lined up as we want it. So we'll do that. And then we can just slide this guy out of the way. And then we have this piece built. So now we'll go back over here for the other side. And now basically this side is ready to be mounted on to here. So we'll lift this up. We'll actually do these so we have both of these pieces made, and then we'll put them together. Okay. Clean that off. Now we'll do the same thing. So because these are white, they're painted surface, we're gonna have those on the inside. So I'm gonna flip those over. And then we'll do our spacing again on these. Also, remember, we gotta space the outside too. Now this one's gonna be a little more trickier because we don't have the extra 4 by 9 inch piece. But I think we should be fine to do this. So there's that. What we can do kind of is simulate that by putting like this here. I do need to cut out the strips for this. Again, we already have that measurement, so we're going to go ahead and cut those, and I'll be right back. Now we have those cut out. We can get those started for that. To make things a little bit easier, I was just kind of rethinking it. What I can do is go ahead and put these together. I think it is going to be easier this way instead of kind of estimating where it might be. I'm going to go ahead and brad nail these down before I create this piece. So we'll go ahead and brad nail this. You want to make sure everything's flush before you do it. Okay. There's that side. And it looks like we cut the screw. No problem. That just breaks off. So there we go. So there's this side. Now we can flip it over. We can kind of guesstimate where these boards need to be by using basically this right here, because these strips are the same size. Oops. So we can estimate them to be like that. So we'll go ahead and oops. Of course, we ran out on these last ones. So there's that. And just to make things simpler, we can just lift this off and place this where it needs to be. Okay, so sorry about that. Battery on the camera died. But anyway, basically what we did is we got everything completed now. So the strips on both sides are done. What I need to do now is I need to build the strips for the outside. But before we do that, what we need to do is, so here's the bottom side. We need to put that base in there. So what I'm going to do is, and I'll try to show it from up here, is I need my tape measure. Basically, I'm going to measure out distance in here, which is 6 inches, because we know that because that's what this is. So I'm going to measure a 5.5 inch wide board. That leaves about 1/4 inch on each side. And this one I need to be tight. So this is 22.5 inches long, exactly. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a 22.5 inch by 5.5 inch board, and then what we'll do is we'll place it down in, and again we'll countersink our screws and drill them in there. That way it's a really strong base, and then we'll put the strips on. Now technically I could put the top strip on, but I'm going to build the base first, get it screwed in on both sides, and then we'll measure out our pieces to make sure that we have the right size. So I'm going to go ahead and cut that out a while, and then we'll put it together. Okay, so now that we have that cut out, we'll go ahead and first we'll countersink our holes. That way it's already done. Now we're going to try to center this up as much as possible. So now I'm going to place the board in here. I'm going to try to hold it still so the holes line up, even though I already have it drilled out. Okay. I'll go ahead and run those in a while. There's that. I'll go ahead and turn this around. Screwdriver here just to keep it it's not perfectly centered, it's pretty close. It's pretty much centered up. So go ahead and do this. And then there we go. Now the bottom's in. Okay, so the last thing we have to do is measure our side pieces. Now that we have the bottom piece on, we have to measure our side pieces and then put those on, and we'll be pretty much done. So we'll measure that out. This one is 9 9/16, 9 9/16, 9 9/16, and 9 9/16. Oh, that's kind of surprising. I was expecting it to be off a little, but so that's good. So I'm gonna go ahead and cut these pieces out, and we'll get them together. Okay, so now we have those pieces cut out. Now we can begin putting those on. Cool. Okay, again, these are just brad nailed on, so I'll get those lined up. It's gonna be a little off camera. I'm gonna set this up on its side. And again, just trying to make sure everything's flush on the top. And then we'll flip that over, and then we'll do the same on the other side. Out of the way, and then there we go. That is it then. Now it's ready to be sanded on the outside, and it's ready to be stained. So thanks everyone for watching, and stay tuned for our next episode then.
And as always, we want to thank you guys for the continued support. And if you'd like to purchase one of these products from us, you can do so at our website at ivyandwilco.com. Thank you, everyone.